welcome to the video. Today I am going to be analyzing my best season of cross country ever. Honestly, it's a little bit embarrassing to admit, but my best season ever was actually my true freshman year in 2015. And so I set out to figure out why that is, go back through everything and really examine the evidence. In high school, I was a high-level cross-country runner, but going into college, I definitely didn't expect to be at the top. I was going up against absolute legends like Molly Seidel, Dom Scott, and Courtney Frericks. They were girls that were my idols, and I didn't expect to be able to keep up with them in races. But for some reason, when I went to college, I was able to make a big jump in performance. And I'm not really sure why that is, but it made this first season of cross country so fun for me. To relive this season, I really have to go back to the summer before the season. So at the end of my high school track career, I actually had hip bursitis and ended up taking 6 weeks off. In early July, when Mount Marathon rolled around, I was running again. The rest of the summer, it continued to get better, and I was able to train consistently 60-mile weeks, which was the most of my life. By the end of the summer, I was feeling fit and so excited to go to college at Boise State. The first race of the year was a small dual meet with San Francisco, where we mainly pack ran and then kind of raced the last 2K. It wasn't much, but it gave me a little bit of confidence and made me excited for bigger races to come. Now, at this point in the season, I actually went to Wales and did the Junior Mountain Running World Championships, which obviously isn't a cross-country race or NCAA affiliated, but I wanted to throw it in because it was during the same time frame, and also, I'm always looking for an opportunity to casually mention that I'm a junior world champion. So here we are. It was really fun. I loved repping Team USA. But anyways, let's get back to Boise. I traveled back to Boise the Sunday before we had our next race, and I was actually doing great adjusting to the time change. But then on Tuesday, disaster struck, and I got food poisoning from the school cafeteria and spent most of my night looking a little bit like this. So that was great, but I still wanted to race Roy Griak, so I went with the team and just was like, okay, let's see what happens. I felt fine Thursday. The race was Friday, so I figured it would be okay. I remember standing on the starting line just being really, not even nervous, but just kind of apprehensive. I realized I was entering this huge phase of my life with college running, and this felt like the first race to me since the other one was so small. When this race started, it just felt absolutely surreal. Oh my gosh, this is it. I'm racing college cross country. This is a huge race, and I'm in it. And I just went out from the beginning with my teammates, and we made our way to the front of the pack, and honestly, I was feeling surprisingly good, considering that I had had food poisoning 3 days before, and I just didn't know how I would feel in this race, but the pace felt really doable, and I was just focused on staying with the people around me and wasn't really trying to push the pace at all. So I was just enjoying myself, staying relaxed, but once we got to 4K, my feelings of being relaxed and not thinking it was too hard changed very drastically. Bethan Knights made a pretty big move, and she just immediately capped me. I had nothing to give. I don't know if it was the food poisoning or what, but I was in survival mode. I remember around 5K, my coach yelled at me, "Don't worry, there's plenty of race left. You can catch her." And I was like, what in the world? I am not worried about there being enough race. I want this to end right now. I want this to have ended yesterday. But I kept going because I knew that the team race was important. And also, I don't want to drop out of races anyways. But I ended up making my way to a second place finish. But you can see it on my face. There's nothing. I am so dead. I know. But it was awesome as far as the team goes. We won, and it was so cool. The next race on the schedule was Nuttycombe Wisconsin Invitational, which is probably the most competitive collegiate race of the year other than Nationals. The big names were in this race: Molly Seidel, Dom Scott, Courtney Frericks. I've mentioned them before, but they are worth mentioning again because they are so good. And I was very intimidated by them, but also just super excited to see what I could do in a big race. This was a starting point. Let's see where I'm at. So from the start, I was shocked by how fast we were going. It was a mad dash, and I definitely got pushed kind of to the back of the front, but I spent the first part of the race just getting back up to the front of the pack. And once I was there, I relaxed, and it felt surprisingly good. And I was like, okay, these people are so good, and I'm with them. I can't believe anything right now. This is insane. But I was loving it. And at about 4K, Molly made a big move, and Dom and I went with her. And from there, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is an out-of-body experience. I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe I'm here right now. This is insane. But with 800 to go, I was like, you know what? I am here, and I'm going to go for it. I am going to try to loop around this big loop and get this win. So I went with about 700 meters to go and had a big kick to try to drop Molly, and I was definitely running scared at this point. I thought for sure she was going to catch up to me or I was going to die, but I was also not feeling anything. I think I was just so overwhelmed by excitement and adrenaline and being in the lead that I didn't have the capacity to feel pain or to feel tired. So I just sprinted it in, pumped my arms, and managed to get the win in this race, which honestly I am still shocked about. And I also got a course record, so that was very cool. Wisconsin Invite gave me a lot of confidence going into championship season, just because I felt so good during the race, and I was able to pull off a surprising win. Now, conference was in Reno, Nevada, probably somewhere around here, because this golf course was at 5,500 feet, and it was brutal. The course was so hilly. So our coach told us to go out conservative, which we did, and around 3K, I was feeling really good and just felt myself naturally kind of moving to the front. So I decided to just not fight it and take the lead, even though it was kind of far from the finish. And I just kept pushing the pace and was able to maintain it through the finish, winning in probably the slowest time at a conference championship ever. But hey, a win is a win. And I was happy with it and excited for regionals. Boise State is in the West region, and this region is absolutely loaded with powerhouse teams like Stanford, Oregon, University of Washington. We hadn't had our best team race at conference, so we knew we'd need a really good team effort in order to get one of those top 2 automatic bids to nationals. The race was hosted in Seattle, and in typical Seattle fashion, it was pouring rain. Every photo I have is me in a full rain suit and everyone's soaking wet. So it made the conditions very, very muddy. But, you know, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It was fun. It's cross country. That's what it's supposed to be like. And I was honestly loving it. For the first 4K, I hung with the pack, just sussed out how everyone else was feeling. And then with a lap to go, I went, and only one girl went with me, Waverly Neer of University of Oregon. At this point, I just trusted myself and kept pushing the pace all the way through the finish, and I managed to pull off a win, and my teammates, Brenna and Mintu, got 4th and 5th, so we had a really solid front 3, and were able to finish 2nd in the region, just 1 point behind Oregon. But we did get that auto bid to nationals, so that was awesome. Going into nationals, the big story was the rematch between Molly Seidel and I. And even though that made me nervous to get media attention, I also knew that this was just my freshman year, and I was trying not to put too much pressure on myself. From the beginning of the race, I just tried to treat it like any other race that season and thought, okay, let's just get to the front, get in that front group, hang out with these nice ladies, and just see what happens. And that's what I did until about 4K, when Molly Seidel made a move to go to the lead. Dom and I went with her, very similar to Wisconsin. Then at 5K, Molly made another surge. I went with her, but Dom started to fall back. Slowly, Molly was able to pull away from me, and even though she was getting a gap, I tried to stay engaged and just thought, you know what, if she fades, maybe I can catch up to her. I remember in this race, though, Molly just having a different level of focus and determination to win. She's already terrifying to race against because she can go so far into the pain cave that it's unseemly. But in this race especially, there was no way I was beating her this day. She went after it, and I tried everything that I had, but she just had it, you know? So I had to settle for second place. After winning my last 3 races, I just wasn't able to pull off the win at Nationals and had a runner-up finish. No, actually, I was happy about it. I was really happy to get second in this race. It was way more than I expected to be able to do this season. And I figured I had 3 more chances to get that title, but never ended up happening. So, there are a few reasons why I think that my freshman season was so successful. The first one is that this was literally my first time experiencing race tactics in cross country, and I think that just feeling actually good halfway or 3/4 through a race and being relaxed at that point gave me a huge mental lift, because in high school I would literally go out in like 3 flat for the first K and then just struggle the rest of the race. So actually feeling good partway through made me really confident. The next thing is that I wasn't pouring my biggest efforts into workouts. In high school, I was always trying to keep up with the best guys on the team who were just better than me. And so every workout was pretty much a race effort. But in college, I had a great group of girls to work out with, and we were running at paces and an effort that made sense for workouts. So I didn't do too many crazy hard workouts, and that left me feeling way more excited and energized to put my biggest effort into races. So that was that. The third reason, and I think the biggest reason, because this is really what separates my freshman year from my junior and senior years, is that I felt so much less pressure. Like, I know that this sounds stupid, and looking back at results and seeing how much I won high school races by, I realize it is dumb, but I was more nervous for every single high school race my senior year than I was for any of the races my freshman year of college. I just felt so much pressure in Alaska to win that I felt like it was an automatic loss if I didn't, and winning was just like meeting the standard. And in college, I just felt like a huge expectation had been lifted off my shoulders, because I was running against people who I thought were better than me and had accomplished so much. And just to be in the race with them was so cool, and beating them was a bonus as opposed to a must. So I just felt so excited to race them, and I didn't run scared or run afraid. I just got in the race and went out there every single time wanting to see what I could do and not being afraid of falling short of what was expected of me. So that was just a really refreshing mindset for me. And after my freshman year, I felt so much pressure to live up to what I had done my freshman season that I had a lot less fun in cross country and just felt way more pressure and expectations. And I just wasn't having fun racing in the same way that I was during this season. And if I'm not having fun, I'm not running as well. And that's just the facts. The last reason I can think of is that the NCAA just leveled up. The NCAA is constantly increasing in the level of competition, and this definitely happened while I was in college. I mean, if you look at the 2015 versus the 2017 NCAA results, you'll see that I actually ran 2 seconds faster on a very, very similar course in 2017, but I got fourth. And, fourth place in 2015 wouldn't have even been in the top 10. So that's the difference a few years can make. And I think that the leveling up of the NCAA combined with those heightened expectations that I felt just made me feel overwhelmed. And even though I think I was in better shape based off of workouts and track times, I wasn't able to race to the same level. So yeah, that pretty much sums up my freshman year cross country season. This is kind of the first video I've made that's like this, so if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and also leave a comment letting me know what other races or seasons or whatever you'd like me to analyze. So yeah, that's all for now, folks.